Okay, all right, folks, let's get started. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining yet another session at OpenAI Club. I think this is session number 23, if I'm not wrong. So if you're new here, so this is OpenAI Club. So it's run by Praveen and I. So Praveen is not in this call today. So we started this as a way of us kind of keeping in touch with the AI, and over a period of time, kind of expanded to add more people. So primarily, what we do is we conduct sessions every Saturday morning around this time. About 95% of the time, we do it at Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And we do one free session on one particular topic with respect to AI. And this is focused on non-technical folks, focused on people, operators who have a few years of experience in their belt, and helping them to think about AI in depth, right? So that's kind of the idea. If you want to know more, and if you want to kind of like continue with or you want to join the future sessions, just join update.club. I put the link in the chat, so you should be able to join over there. And if you want to check out our previous sessions, we already have it in YouTube for free. So you can go check out our YouTube channel. So there are some very interesting sessions over there. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I see a lot of familiar faces over here. And so today's session is going to be a very basic session on using Python notebooks. So last week we did a session on analytics. One of the things I got as a feedback is that people wanted to get deeper into working with Python, especially if you're a non-coder, if you're if you are not like a not technical person in general, or if you don't know Python, right? So it's very hard for you to kind of like jump into this. So we thought we'll do a deep dive session on just using that, right? So that's kind of the agenda. And in this session, because it's going to be a hands-on session, so feel free to ask questions in between, stop me. It's going to be a very short in terms of content, but the idea is that by end of this session, you will have enough familiarity to go and do all sorts of things with Python notebooks yourself, even if you don't know Python, right? So that's the objective. Fingers crossed that we'll achieve that objective within the hour. Okay. Yeah, so that's about it. And yeah, let's get started. So this session is being recorded, by the way, and we're going to post this on YouTube. And so, yeah, just a disclaimer. Okay. So, all right, so I'm going to give a basic introduction, then we will get into the hands-on session. Okay, and I don't have any PPT or anything. I'm just going to take you through what Python notebooks actually are. Okay, so I'm going to share my session. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. All right, so you all can see my screen, right? Just give me a thumbs up if you can. All right, perfect. Praveen is not here, so I have to admit people as and when they come in. Cool. So here, what you see is actually like terminal, right? Like, don't worry about it. You don't have to know any of this. There's just some basics I'm actually setting. Okay. So what is Python? Python is a programming language with which developers write code and build applications. Okay. And especially if you have worked in like corporate, you would have realized that people use data scientists or analysts actually use Python a lot to do their data analysis process. The reason why is that Python is actually very simple for you to use. And the second one is you don't have to compile, it just like directly works. Forget about all these compilation and technologies. For example, if you write code, when developers write code, the code has to be compiled into a machine format. That is a process for compilation. And then it gets used by the machine. In case of Python, you don't have that intermediate step. You can directly run it, so it becomes easier, right? So typically what you actually do is you can go to your terminal and you can do Python, and you can say a is equal to 5. So if I say print a, it will print 5. Now I can say b is equal to 10. Then I can say a plus b, so it becomes 15. Now if I say a is equal to 20, then if I say a plus b, becomes 30, because earlier b was 10 and a is 25, right? So this is basically what actually Python is. It's not super complicated. Now, what a lot of people or developers in general they actually do is they create files like let me see if I have any examples. So they have files like this where they type all of these things down and they do these commands to run, etc., to run these programs. And indirectly, it becomes very difficult because I'm not a developer, and for me to open these code windows and play around with all these commands, etc., becomes very, very difficult, right? Or at least there is a lot of learning curve, which I don't want to get into. Okay, so that's where this new concept actually came in a few years back, which is called Jupyter Notebooks. Okay. So ignore this command also. We'll come to a very, very easy way for us actually to do all of this. But all right, so let's ignore all of this. So this is called a notebook. Okay. So notebook is an easy way for you to work without without getting into complicated like dev setups. Okay. So what does it actually do? Just like how we did it in the terminal earlier. So I can do the same thing with like Jupyter Notebook. So each cell over here. So this is called a notebook. We'll start hands-on in a second. But each cell in a notebook is a place where you can write small bits of code. Okay. For example, if I say a is equal to 10, so this code actually gets executed. Okay. Now if I print a becomes 10. Now say b is equal to 5, and I do a plus b, so it shows 15. Now if I have to, so in the previous program, what we actually did is, or actually let me make it look more relevant. So now if I say a is equal to 20, so it becomes 25. So instead of like doing this like one by one, Python Notebook, what it does is it kind of like splits this whole thing into separate blocks. So I can always go back and say a is equal to 20 here. And if I run a plus b separately, it becomes 25. So instead of like duplicating all of this and doing multiple blocks, I can go back and like edit the code and like kind of like play around with it all the time. So this is why the notebooks are actually invented. Okay. Now I want to get a little deeper to make you understand this a little better, but I think it'll be better for us to do this all hands-on. I'm going to keep switching because I want to let people in. So please ignore that, right? Okay, so let's all do one thing. I'm going to post a particular link in the chat. I want you all to go to that. Actually, yeah. Can you all just go to this particular link and you'll see a screen like this. Just give me a thumbs up once you're able to go over there. Okay, all right. Yeah, just ask me to stop whenever you want, guys. All right, so once you go there, just create a new notebook. Okay. All right. Yeah, just tell me, Preet.
Yeah, so it's a Google Colab link.
Yes.
So can you explain it in brief? What exactly is this?
Yeah, I will explain.
And I have got an open notebook prompt. So what should I do here?
Just create a new notebook.
New notebook. Okay.
Create a new notebook.
Okay. New notebook and slow.
Yeah, it'll take a second to load. Let me know once you're all able to do that. Awesome. Okay, so I'll explain what this is. Right. See, this. So the concept of like these Python notebooks became like a big deal, and Google launched this a few years back, where they provide the ability for you to run these notebooks in the cloud. Okay, and it is available for free. So for me to kind of like do this, no, I have to install some softwares in my Mac, etc. Little bit of like a developer setup. But Google has created this for free in the cloud, and they also provide good enough what do you call resources in terms of RAM and in terms of like server disk space, etc. That means like a remote computer that you have over the cloud, which you can use for free. Okay, so it becomes an easy way for us to kind of like work with this notebooks. You'll understand what a notebook is and how we can use it in a second, but it is an easier way for you to work with notebooks rather than installing it locally. If you're in a corporate, what people do is they typically install these notebooks in a server within the corporate so that it remains locally. Obviously, if you want to try it out for free, you can actually use Google. Okay. And interestingly, even if you want to like you go to some advanced level in terms of training AI models or what do you call build AI LLM models, etc. So you can still use the same notebooks. You might have to switch to TPUs. There is something called
Tensor processing units.
yeah. So tensor processing. So you can use to a CPU or a TPU, etc. And you can actually switch. And if you pay, you will get more resources, etc. So this is what people use everywhere. Everybody from like a normal analyst to let's say the Andre Karpathis of the world, everybody uses this actually. Okay, so now let's get started with some basics. So first point is that we're going to name this, and this is going to get stored in your local drive. So we'll have it automatically saved. I'm going to say this is getting started with Python analytics. It's better to use, not to use spaces. Okay. Now, so notebooks, the granular unit of a notebook is something called a cell. So this basically is a cell. Okay. Within the cell, you can do multiple things. One is I can simply write text. So you can say this is a notebook. We will do understand how to use Python for analytics. I run this. It just shows the text, and you can also change it into text, and it happens again. Second is I can write small bits of code over there. For example, I will say say what is date, or I'll say date is equal to 2025 is already August only, right? I can write this and I can say oops, and I can say print date. Oops. Okay, so I can write like small bits of code here. So that's why this actually gets used. I'll come to explaining how to remember all of this, etc. etc. So don't worry about it. It's all very, very simple. Now, few things about like working with Python, right? There is a concept of like syntax. So syntax is like basic commands that you actually should know in terms of Python. And this is something you learn as you use it more and more. So don't worry too much about it. But when you read it, it will be straightforward. But when you want to like, if you've never done this before, it takes getting some used to remember exactly what the terms are. Okay, but don't worry about it too much. We have an easier way to do this. We'll cover that in a bit. Okay. Now, what we are going to do today is one thing, which is I will okay. So I will say my objective to get a public data set and do basic analysis using Python. Okay. Can you guys try to run this? Just put this, you can write whatever text you want, but put this percentage markdown upfront. Oops. Okay.
I think it's double percentage.
Oh, double percentage. Yeah, correct. Digvijay, I can hear you, man. What are you doing here? You're like an expert in this.
I just need some, so that I can also show up on my desk at 10 a.m.
Nice.
on a Saturday.
Yeah. So, have you guys tried this? Just give me a thumbs up. We have. Okay. I'm slowly starting to see. Let's get a few more. Okay. Now I'll explain what it actually is. So each cell, by default, the program will treat it as a code. So when I run date, it treats it as a code, print date treats it as a code, etc. But when I put double percentage markdown is basically a format of writing documents. Okay, so if you don't know already, you can just go to what is markdown. Okay, so it is a easy way to kind of like write text, which will automatically create headings, subheadings, bullet points, links, etc. Just by like typing. Like for example, you type it like this, it becomes like this. Okay, it's a fairly standard format of like writing documents in like a very structured manner. It even works on Google Docs, by the way. So you should actually check it out. It's much easier than going to the top menu and saying that use heading one style or headings two style, etc. If you put a single hash, it becomes a style heading one. Double hash, it becomes heading two. And you can do links for this, etc. You can do play around with a lot of stuff. But yeah, like in the cell, if you have this kind of format, it basically says that it is a markdown cell. So that it prints like the first one as H2 because we have double hash, and next one is simply a text. Okay, so this is what we have done with markdown. Now, this is exactly what we are going to do in this session. We are going to get a public data set. Okay, so I will just give me 1 second. I'll get the link for the data set. I'm going to paste a link. So can you all click here? It will open an XLS file and it will download an XLS file. Wait, okay. Or let me do one thing. I'll just share my local copy. Okay, can you try to see if we can access this link? What happened? Yeah, I'll increase the font size. Thank you. Is it visible? All right. Let me know once you have downloaded that file to your local desktop. So once you download, just go here, which is the files. Go here, just drag and drop that file.
We should download it at XLS, right?
Yeah, just XLS, download it to your local file and just drag and drop here into your files. If you have a like an SQL setup, or if you have your own data servers, etc., there is a way of connecting that also. You can Google all of those. Those are very straightforward. But right now, I'm simply showing how do you play around with the local XLS file. Actually, I think it is called retail dataset, right?
Bala, could you just show where to upload once?
So
Here up.
it will be closed like this for you.
Understood.
Okay, on the left, you see a folder. Click on it, just add it over. Yeah. Let me know once you're all done, guys.
I have so many things. I'm reading. Huh? Line sample data. Okay, now I got readme. I got. Okay.
Yeah, ignore sample data. Don't put it outside sample data. It's easier.
Yeah, sure. Understood.
Yeah. But you can play around with any of this in the future. If you're stuck, just call it out. We want to keep this interactive. Okay, I don't see any responses. What about others? Okay, got it. I think we're good now. Super. So now, if you open this data set, I will open my drive and show you how it actually looks. Right. So this is a massive data set. I think it has about no 100,000. It has about like 5 lakhs rows. And if you have worked, if you're like me, and if you have worked with large data sets, you know how Excel kind of like stops responding after some time, saying that it can't handle. So that's where the whole analysis process with Python actually becomes much easier. So what we are going to do is just like how we use Excel to kind of do an analysis and like identify patterns or insights from this particular data. We are going to use this notebook to do that in a much easier manner. Okay. So that's exactly is the focus right now. So Python has this package called Pandas. Okay, so Pandas is basically, so just like how do you call, you have multiple apps on your phone to perform certain tasks which are useful to do certain things. Python also has certain packages which have easier way of doing certain things. For you to work with data, Excel kind of like a data, Pandas is basically the framework which becomes very useful. Okay, it is very similar to like a matrix, which is an x-axis and a y-axis, like a whenever you have like a two-dimensional matrix, working with data, processing data using that is where Pandas actually gets very useful. So you can simply say import Pandas as PD, and this is something you can actually remember. do this because you're going to use it in pretty much every analytics use case that you're going to see. Okay, so let me know once you have imported. All right. Now we're going to do something interesting. Now let's say what I want to do is I want to load this file into my Python notebook so that I can play around with it. Let's say I don't know how to do that. Like you don't remember the command. So click on generate and you simply say load the file retail data set.xlsx from my files center. Okay, so this is powered using Gemini. The best part about moving to Google Colab is that you don't have to remember these syntaxes anymore. Okay, you don't have to be a developer. You don't have to do any of this. You can simply, what do you call? Yeah, you can simply like use this to execute this. Actually, Gemini hasn't done a great job. It hasn't done a great job, but I think it will still work. So I can simply execute. Actually, there is no content, right? So I can simply say retail data set. You can also try. Just try the same thing in your files. Use Gemini to generate and enter this. Let me know if you are getting the same output, different output, or any particular problems with this. Why is it taking so much time? Yeah, this is a problem. It's not the right way to do this. Just gonna have it. And six. I want to load it using Pandas. Okay, so I close this. So actually, I can just give this enter. How did it go, folks? Are you able to do it?
We got similar
This thing, yeah?
code is used, so yeah, just repeating what you're doing.
For some reason, this is not working.
Hey, what's the command or code for getting that retail data set in?
Oh, just drag and drop over here.
That's done.
So just like, so this is the first command. So basically what it does is, I'll give you an easier way. This is even Gemini complicating stuff. PD is basically we're using this function. So PD, there is something called read_excel. Okay, it worked actually. So if you, the best part about like Python again is if you, okay, I'm using Pandas to read this Excel. I put a dot. I should usually get this. I don't know why I'm not. So I have all these different commands that are actually possible. So read Excel, there will be a read CSV, all of those. If you don't remember a lot of them, it's still fine. You can always get. I can say read Excel, and I just give the file name, retail_. dataset.xlsx. If you put it inside sample data, then remember to put sample underscore data slash etc. Okay, so and just press enter, shift enter, or you can simply click on this button run. It will read that data set. Okay, so in this command, I'll explain what is happening. So there is a way to read Excel file, which is pd.read Excel file. If you have multiple sheets in the Excel file, it will load the entire Excel file here. And what we're trying to do is, from the Excel file, we are taking sheet names. So there are all the sheet names, right, in the Excel file that get stored under sheet names. And we are taking 0. 0 is basically what we call an index. I'll explain what it actually is. So we are taking 0 as the first index. So if I have multiple Excel sheets like this, I'm taking the first one and I'm loading into the DF. That is and when I print DF, it looks exactly like the first few rows of the Excel sheet, right? So if you look at the first 5 rows of this Excel sheet, it is like white hanging or cream cupid, etc. So you will see the same things over here. We're just loading the Excel sheet. If you have only one sheet, it is an easier way to do this, which is what I have done over here. This is what I typically use, but you don't have to use this. Google Sheet, whatever, Google Gemini, whatever provides, it works. But, okay. Any questions? Are you able to get here, folks? Okay, I see a few thumbs up.
Basically, Bala, it's just a prompt to, we are telling the prompt to, read this, import this via Pandas and display it. That's it.
Correct, that's all. That's all we have done. And we displayed only 5 top 5.
Yeah. When
Okay.
it.
Okay. So, okay. So what is DF? Why are we using this DF? So there is a concept called data frame. Okay. Data frame is just you call the type of object as a data frame. Data frame is nothing but an Excel sheet ka representation. So you have a matrix, right? So you have columns and rows. 2-order matrix is what we actually call a data frame inside Pandas. And that's why everything that we call as like DF. This is just a variable name. So this entire data of the sheet is actually stored under DF. Okay. For example, if I want to see I'm going to show a few commands to play around with. So if I do head is basically show me the top. So if I print, it will show the first 5 by default. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Note that it always starts with 0. If I say head of 1, it only shows 1 element. If I show head of 10, it only shows 10 elements. I can also do tail. If you want to see the last 10, I can show it this way. Last 1, I can show it this way. Okay. Why don't you guys like play around with some of this and see how the data is actually shaping up? Okay. I'm going to do something else. Now, if I simply say df bracket, so when I do this bracket, I basically mean give me the columns. Okay. So I simply say, let's say I want to see all the, I only want to see, let's say, invoice numbers. So if I say invoice number and I click this button, it will show only the invoice number column. Similarly, if I want to say, what is another column? Quantity, let's say. And I want to show only, let's say, dot head. So you can see the first 5 elements of quantity. So was there a question? Okay. So once you load this DF, you have like multiple commands to kind of like play around and see this data in different format. Okay. So that's the easiest thing about like Pandas instead of doing all these things in Excel. All right, any questions so far? All right, I guess not. So we'll do few things. Okay, one is, let's say my objective, I'm going to do markdown. So the step 1, I'll say get. Yeah, Ramanjam.
Sorry, nothing.
No worries. So what the first step we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to get the revenue per row. So each row may, okay, so we have the price and we have the quantity. I want to have a single column where we show the entire revenue. Okay, in Excel, what do? You basically create a new column and you do an equal to and you say price into quantity is basically what you actually do. We're going to do an equivalent of that over here. Okay, so I will say df of a new column. I will call the column revenue is equal to df of quantity into what is the other one? Quantity and unit price. Okay, so I'll say df of, sorry. Okay, can you all do this? So basically what I've done is I've created a new column called revenue by multiplying quantity and unit price. If I want to see how it actually looks, I can say df.head. So now I see a new column called revenue, which is basically a multiplication of quantity and unit price. So when you do this multiplication in Pandas, it basically has this idea that I want to take each element in the corresponding row of, let's say, quantity and the corresponding row of unit price, and then create a new column called revenue. Okay, but revenue it takes as a new column because the name is unique. For example, let's say if I give something like what do you call stock code, it will actually override stock code. So just very, very simple and straightforward. Okay. Are we hear it, folks? Just give me a thumbs up, please. Is anyone stuck anywhere? Any questions?
Bala, quick question. So this new revenue field that we've identified, does it get stored only for this session, or does it get transferred to our original file?
See, all the things we are actually doing right now is stored only in this session.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So finally, what you have to do once you are done with everything, you might have to export this to another file, or same file or another file. So I'll show you that also, so that you can always look at it. So actually, even I forgot the command. I think pd.to_csv. Okay. You simply give the file name and say retail analysis.csv. Okay. Oh, not pd.csv, sorry, df.csv. So if I do this, you have a retail analysis.csv, which has this updated data. Okay, so once you're done with anything, just if you do two CSV for any data frame, it will just update over. Just simple command. All right, so let's leave it that and let's come back to this. Now, one of the things that we use a lot is basically, let's say we want to see, let's play around with a few things and try to figure out some patterns around this data. Okay, that's where we actually spend a lot of time. Okay, so that is basically called, how do I put it? Let's say, what do I want to do? Place to. You don't have to do this. I'm just typing this so that we all know what I'm trying to do over here. Step 2, we have the revenue. So get the country which creates most revenue. Okay, so that is what we are actually going to do next. So yes, I can write code if I remember what it is, but I can always ask Gemini saying that I want to get the sum of revenue per country. That's it, done. So I say accept. So essentially, I'll tell you how this actually works. So we've created a new variable. So basically, what we are taking is we are taking this data set. We are grouping by the country name. Okay, country name, and we are saying sum of revenue. Okay, so press enter. Now, basically, what you actually see is for each country, what is the total revenue is something that you actually see directly over here. Simple. Okay, now let's say I want to do, instead of country, I want to do based on product. What is a product? Actually, stock collection. Let's use description. It's more relevant. Let's see. But this is not enough for me because I want to sort it by from max to min. Okay, it's over here. Sort the results from max to min. So it has given that sort is also fine. So now let's run this thing. Now we see that UK is the one who is actually creating the maximum amount of revenue, followed by Netherlands and like France and other things. Okay, so easy peasy. Now the famous, any questions on this so far? Have you guys done this far? All right. Anybody stuck somewhere here, folks? I'm assuming we're all okay. Okay, I'm assuming we're all okay. Now, one important thing that we do all, half of our work actually happens via what? Pivot tables. Okay. Let's easily do that. So if I go to this default called pivot table, simple. Okay. So in the pivot table, so what do we do in a pivot table? So this might take a little bit of time. Data, right? I haven't done this in a long time. Yeah, there is a pivot table. We do a pivot table. You have, wow. Yeah, this is a problem with Excel. It actually takes a lot of time. So it's even hanging my system. Okay, so we'll do the pivot table over here. You also give an example. So what do we want to do with pivot? Let's say I want to do something like show the. Any thoughts around what we need to show for a pivot table here? Suggestions? What data do we have?
Description, can we pivot descriptions like all the orders? I mean, all the.
So all the for all each of the product, we can do total revenue.
Yes. And quantities if you want.
And quantity, and probably we'll do a and then later we add a filter by country. Okay, or probably number of customers. Okay. So oops. How do we edit show a pivot table for each description. Product, number of customers per product. Okay, so I'll directly use it as an input here. Dear. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what it actually does. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. I'm going to take this out. So pivot table is basically a variable. We're just calling it a pivot table. df is our data frame. It has the entire Excel sheet. Do a pivot. What is the index? So index is basically what is the leftmost column on which you want to pivot. That's basically the description. And what are the values that you want to do? So values is basically revenue is you want to do a sum of revenue, and you want to do customer ID. You want to do the number of unique customers who have actually bought this particular product. Okay, so that's basically the command. Any questions on this? Is this clear? So I'll see if that thing has opened. Okay, finally, what we are trying to do is the rows, we are trying to do description. And for values, we will do two values. One is quantity can be a sum. And we'll do one more customer ID. Customer ID, we want to do unique, count unique. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. So check out how much time it actually takes for an Excel sheet to do this. Okay, now the same thing I'm actually going to do here. So here I have done the same thing, which is the description, pivot by two values, sum, and for revenue it's sum, for customer ID it is number of unique customer IDs. Click, and instantly in the next second we actually get a response. Okay, probably I can also ask it to sort by max revenue. Just do this. Yeah, so then I have like sort values by revenue, etc. So if I run this, .com postage, this is what is creating like the maximum amount of revenue, right? Interesting. And within this, you can do all sorts of things. Like instead of display, I can simply say pivot table dot head. So I can only show the top 5 items, or if you want to see the top 10 items, I can generally show these things, etc. Okay, are you guys here? Any questions so far?
So Bala, maybe you'll talk about this in a moment, but I'm also trying to get a sense of. I'm just trying to get a sense of the use cases here outside of just what you did in Excel, right?
Yeah, I'll cover that. So we'll probably do one last thing. Then we will come to how do you expand to other things. Yeah. All right. So one thing we will do is probably, let's say we want to add a filter for country. Okay. So now, I mean, I can type the command, but it's not going to be of any use. So I'm going to ask Gemini. So add a filter for country. Not the United Kingdom. Oops. What did I do? Yeah, I have removed the country over here. So now if you see, this data is without UK. So the postage and other things have actually changed. Again, so now coming to like an interesting thing, which is which people commonly use over here, which is, let's say now show this to me in a bar chart, because obviously it's easier for you to always see this in a chart. So in Pandas, you usually use a package called matplotlib. This is a package for you to show charts actually inline over here. Unfortunately, it is slightly a lot of code, but don't get scared. It's very, very easy. What we have done is we have just taken our top descriptions, top 10 products. We have said that, actually I'll add one more command so that this becomes useful. Right. Yeah, so don't worry about all of these things. It's just an example. So basically we are saying the figure size is this much. What it should be a bar chart, and what is that I'm trying to show? I'm showing the descriptions as a index, and I'm showing the revenue. Okay, X label, Y label, what is the title, etc., etc. So if I print, I basically see this whole thing in a bar chart. So I have two charts over here, one for the number of customers and one for revenue. So let me remove the number of customers. We simply do revenue. Then I say basically see the revenue. I see postage as the biggest, and I see what all things are actually there. And I can play around with this to make it a little better. Okay, it shows all sorts of chart, whatever you can actually think of. You guys can actually go figure it out. Okay. Yeah. Any questions on this so far?
Bala, on cleaning large data sets, usually we won't get such clean data set.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there is anything that you
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it has its own package for that. Like for example, if I say df.describe, right? It talks about like the different data sets, what is a small like min, max, standard deviation, how many null values, etc. are actually there. There is another thing called if you have NaN values and other things inside, you can use fill NA to kind of like automatically empty values. You can put it as like 0 or some other format, right? And you have further commands to combine two large data sets on like a index. Let's say you have two large CSVs. You typically do a VLOOKUP and you combine all of those. So there is a simple format called df.merge, right, which will actually merge two large files actually together on a given index. So you have all of these different functionalities that you can actually explore. Yeah. Okay. So if there are, let me know if there are any questions. Then I'll cover Turin's point on how do we expand this to other areas, especially AI, which I'm interested in. Okay, I guess no. So let's do this. Yeah, like Python notebooks seem to be interesting for like doing a lot of data analysis, especially large data sets, etc. But can I use it for generally exploring other things? Yes, anything that you can actually do with Python, you can do it with what do you call the Python notebooks. Like you mean building applications itself, you can do it with Python notebooks. Not for like production level engineering and like developers related stuff, but anything that you want to play around with, or you want to experiment, or you want to create ad hoc scripts, you can actually do this. Let's do one thing. So let's take an objective saying that let me delete this. I'll get it. Not down. Let's do this objective. So objective is I want to do an open-ended research on this database with LLMs. Okay. Imagine that you're uploading this data set to, let's say, OpenAI, and you want to do some open-ended analysis. Obviously, you can do whatever prompting that you actually want. But let's say I want to do an open-ended analysis for this with LLM. Yes, I can open ChatGPT and I can upload the file. I can do it separately. But let's say you want to do things inline as a at a programming level, where you see that a lot of people are talking about programming, they are using APIs for LLMs, but you may not know how to use it. This is a very easy way for you to explore that. Okay, and this is how everybody actually works. Okay. Yes, we can go ahead and write this, but I can simply say that I want to do an open-ended research on this data set using OpenAI APIs. Okay, so give me the about that prompt. You can give whatever you want, just like whatever prompt you want. Should be do open-ended research on the data using Pandas, or it could be anything open-ended data. Yeah, in this case, this is a multi-step, right? So first it says I want to install OpenAI library, because just like how we use Pandas here, we used Pandas as a library. So OpenAI has its own Python library. So you just need to import it, load the key, and do all of this. I can simply say run step by step. Accept and run. So basically, pip install is a way to install Python libraries in your desktop. Okay, it's just a command, unfortunately. You'll have to learn this command. So yeah, there is no other way beyond this. Okay. Now, next one is it's going to use OpenAI key. So, for example, obviously we can't use. I think it's some dummy key. Okay, so you can either do this, but if you're working with Python notebooks, there is a place called secrets. Okay, on the left panel, next to the files, so there is a place for you to manage secrets. Go here. Here you can add your own secret variables. For example, I have done. I can give access. So I have done saying that OpenAI keys value is this, and if you use this variable, you will be able to get OpenAI keys access. So that's what I have already done, and you can store your keys over here. Okay. Now I'm going to accept and run. So what it is actually doing is, because our data set is like so large, if you send all of those to OpenAI, you don't accept because it will exceed the token limitations. So it is doing a sample of, let's say, only 10,000 records, and it is saving to a CSV, and then it is going to use it to send to OpenAI. Yeah. Don't worry about this. We'll come back to all of these things. And I should support it.
So Bala, while you're doing this, right, I'm just trying to think through this, right? So basically, I get the concept of basically running Python in the cloud for all practical purposes, right? That's
yeah.
And you basically can pull in whatever package you need. I guess to me, I'm just thinking out loud. You basically can keep doing this on a daily basis for pretty much anything once you've loaded the base capability in there, right? So you keep running a command line portion, keep adding new data, keep running that analysis, and hopefully at some point in time you can export the whole thing as well, just as if you want to run it off as well.
It gives you a way to download this as Python file also.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Right. Now let's say if I want to do this, first of all, it shouldn't be delete this. So I'll simply say it's such a pain actually. I want to read from my secrets. This book is called OpenAI API. See, you might think that, oh, how will I, like all of these different concepts, how would I actually know? It's actually it's not that hard. As you start using it, you'll start learning these things pretty easily, right? It just takes a few mistakes and few reattempts for it to learn this whole thing. Okay, so yeah, so now it will actually read our OpenAI key from our secrets. So I'm going to run this. This is already run. That means I don't have to run it again. And here it says you are a data analyst, perform open-ended research on the details, data, patterns, insights. Okay. Yeah, this seems fine to me. I want to change, I can change anything. And instead of this model, I can probably do GPT 4.0, GPT 4.0, right? I think so. So let's run this. What does it say? Incorrect API key provided. Using OpenAI API key. Fix this. So the easiest way is simply to copy. Hey, what happened? Copy and paste here. Use the variable. Okay. For key. Fix this. It should fix. Done. So let's try this again. Okay, so context length is very big. Instead of doing 10,000 samples, I'll just do 1,000 samples. And this now. Now it looks like it is executing. Come on. And to provide the secret. Open the key, right? Okay. It's fine. So let's do one thing. I'll create a temporary key. I'll delete this after the project is done. Just copy. Go here. Go to secrets. Secrets. Open AI key to paste it. Enable it. And we are good. Now let's try running this again. While this runs, look what advantage does it actually bring. Now let's say you're playing around with like your own prompts or like logic of like working with, I don't know what is actually happening over here.
You didn't copy paste the latest key, I guess.
No, I'm using this variable now.
Okay.
So it reads from that. I think something to do with this command only. Is correct. Check API key, right? Check the code. Yeah, but like while this happens, so what advantage does it actually bring? Especially when you have, when you want to change prompts multiple times and play around and figure out what actually works. Let's say you are doing some testing around, you have your customer support output and disrupt tickets, and you want to do some QA on those tickets. Okay. Now one is that you can like write some code and like keep trying it from the beginning one by one. Like every time you initiate, you read the entire data file. Every time you parse through the API and try to get results. But in this case, all the loading of the data, all the other code, etc., remains the same. You don't rerun it upfront. You only run this data processing part, small part, again and again until it actually makes sense, right? It makes the whole processing part much easier. I don't know what is the problem here actually. Except any questions, folks?
So what is the, am I on mute? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Tell me.
Yeah. So the context size, you are reduced from 10,000 to 1,000, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do we know what is the size? Or it is have some limitation with respect to context size, right?
Yeah. OpenAI has limitations with respect to tokens, number of input tokens it can take.
Okay. So, but how do we know? Again, we can ask OpenAI itself saying that, tell me what is your size?
No. So you give a longer size, it said, nah, it can only take so many tokens you are using so high.
Okay.
For example, if you remember earlier, if I do this, so model's maximum context length is 128,000. Okay, but however, you are using 462,000. That means 4 times as large. Okay, so just for testing purposes, I actually reduced it a little bit. Okay, or another way to do this, like for example, if I'm actually working on this, what I would do is, hey, this is the structure of the data that I have with few examples. Okay, give me all the possible ways I can do an analysis on this large data set. So it'll give me instructions into how it can actually do the whole thing. So that is another way, probably a better way to do this, because we are only sending we don't want to send all our data to OpenAI. Okay, let me see how we can play this.
Hey, one more question maybe, Bala. So if you actually go to OpenAI or Claude, the web page, there's usually this idea of a conversation, which is you ask a question, it gives an answer, you ask another question, and it retains context of your previous questions and answers to help build up something.
Correct.
2 questions. How do we do something similar when using the APIs? And secondly, is it a good idea to actually have something like a continued conversation, or best to start very targeted?
It depends on the context, right? So what you actually want to build. If you want to have previous message as a context for the next message, if you're making multiple messages to an AI to process it, then yes, you need to kind of maintain that. But if you use like one-off, for example, you have same QA example, right? You have fresh list tickets. For each ticket, you want to perform QA. There is no point in me remembering what the previous tickets processing was, right? In those cases, you did not remember anything. Yeah.
Got it.
Now, the way, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the way it actually works internally in ChatGPT, let's say, right? Let me see if yeah. So the way it's like, so now I sent a message called hello, and it responded hi, which is very similar to what happens here. So I sent this message, user message, and it sends me a response. Okay. Now when I send the next message, what time is it? Essentially, what ChatGPT does here is that it creates a, I'll tell you how this block will actually look internally from an API point of view. So ChatGPT will essentially send the following thing to the LLM. Okay, first it will say system, say like helpful assistant. Then you'll say user, which is my first message, hello. Okay. So first, ChatGPT actually sends this to, and you get a response saying hi. So the next time I send, what time is it? Basically, it looks like this. Then it will say assistant, hi. Then we'll say user. What time is it? So this is what ChatGPT internally is actually sending. So every time you get a response and you send a response, you send a message back, it keeps adding to this context. Okay. Obviously, you can do this manually, which is easier if you want to have small programs. But there are several Python packages which are available, or any language for that matter, packages which are available, which helps you automatically do this by having this concept of what is a conversation thread.
Got it.
Yeah.
But I guess the more we do this, we'll also start to hit those same context window token limits.
No, there are multiple ways to do this, solve that problem, which is how, for example, ChatGPT and other people also solve. So the way they do this, let's say you have this big. I'm going to copy and paste one more of this. Okay, let's see this way. System. Now let's say this is how it looks, but let's say your context window can only handle this. And there are multiple ways we can actually do this in practically. Number one is I can cut off earlier messages which my context window cannot handle. That means it will only take the last system message plus the last 3 messages always what I send to ChatGPT. All the older messages are forgotten, which is one way. Okay.
Got it.
So that is one way, which is a very brute force, not so efficient way. The second way, which is happening right now, is that all the past messages, instead of having those messages, I basically create something like a summary. Okay, the user and assistant exchanged a greeting. So all your previous messages are summarized, so some amount of context is actually available.
Got it.
And right, so you keep summarizing it. So that's another way of actually doing this, and there are a lot more smarter ways which have actually come about, which people use across the board.
Got it. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions, folks?
So you have this context and limit and all, but you have also, if we want to, if you're out of the session, again, you have to, I mean, you have to go back to the same context. Is there a mechanism which we can maintain and retain the context?
Yeah, store it in a file or a DB.
Oh, okay.
That's where like, so there is this thing called persistent storage and like non-persistent memory, right? So it's nothing but it's just like think of it as a text file.
Yeah. Okay, notepad thing. Yeah.
Text file, that's all.
Okay.
So that's where, so ChatGPT, if you think about it, all these things are stored as normal text files, right? In some amount of like DB format. Now what they have done is they've taken all these past context and they have summarized and tokenized and kind of like extracted important information and stored it somewhere, which becomes your ChatGPT memory, your key items, right? So that's why ChatGPT is able to refer to past conversations, which you which makes it so much better nowadays.
Questions. Okay.
Yeah.
No, so you're saying it is like, even though I'm out of the session and whatever I had conversational historical information, it keeps it in somewhere in memory?
Yes, it does. It basically stores it to a DB. And every time you talk about a conversation, when it is thinking, it also tries to refer some of the past conversations with relevant context.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very similar to a rough way to think about it is like a new employee. Right. So every time you start a conversation, it has some things in memory which are recent conversations or recent interactions, which are fast fetched memory. All the old ones, if we have a lot of information, it goes into a database. It is a very search efficient database. That means I can immediately search and get relevant data, relevant conversations easily. If I talk about health, for example, anywhere I've talked about health or like let's say workout or fitness or feeling tired. These are all relevant topics. It has a very efficient way to fish all those relevant conversations. So if I'm talking about health with ChatGPT, it knows when all I have talked about health, how do I talk about health, etc., and give the relevant information even faster. That's what makes the systems much better going forward as you use more and more.
How is it intelligent to maintain all this conversational thing? Because some of them are like just noise, right? I mean, you don't really need to maintain. Of course, you need to maintain something more relevant and quality wise, right? I mean, no, I mean, sometimes you say, I mean, sorry.
There are several concepts. It's not just like one is obviously they store all the raw messages, which is one. Second is they also they extract key elements which they think is relevant, okay, and kind of create a like a mind map over a period of time. For example, when you have said your name, okay, they know what your actual name is. They store it because that's an important information. They store it. Your age, your gender, your for where do you actually work, like what other names you have used in terms of colleagues, your friends, your family, etc. So these are important information. They have a way of extracting this important information, kind of creating a map. So that becomes easier for it to track. Then topical information, which is something related to your health or your career, your work, your travel, etc. So those create like different topic maps. Then you also have this raw conversation, and this information kind of like keeps getting better and better, and they keep getting better at searching this information and finding it in real time. Right? That's where most of the effort is being invested actually.
Okay. So what, I mean, that's one last question I've been getting into. So you have the conversation, it's maintained in a memory, and that there is things which there is just keep prompting on the same models and saying, how do you learn and how do you take my conversation history into consideration? The typical response comes back and say, I don't learn, I don't retain, or something like that they say. I was wondering that whether they don't learn, I know that's going to be on the fly, they don't definitely learn. But definitely they can maintain for historical purpose to train it in a next iterative version or whenever it is. If it is really a data which they can see it as a valued or something. I'm assuming all this because I don't really know what is under the hood which is happening actually. But without the consent or, I don't know, of course, it's all going and happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me, I guess, because sometimes the answer coming from any of this GPT or Gemini or Perplexity or anything, they say, I don't learn from these conversations. So I don't mean what I mean. So it's not learning. I don't know whether it is retaining, but you're pointing it saying it is retaining as a memory for the maybe any purpose in the future for us to have the retain as a context or to continue the context kind of a thing. So it's a bit hazy actually.
I mean, it's just like, see, obviously it is not training on the fly, except for like, there are some minor modules where whether the response is relevant, etc., that they learn from, but training happens ad hoc, right? On the fly, they don't learn. The training, that doesn't happen. Second is privacy policy actually states that all the chatbots, most of the chatbots that we actually use, they use them for training. The enterprise commitments and the APIs, they say they don't learn from. So these are the two things that we know. But again, I'm sure like these companies take, at least some of the big companies take these things seriously. But again, it could change at any point in time, how they store and how they use this data. So unfortunately, that is a reality.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything else, folks? Are you guys in a place where you think you can use the notebooks?
Can play around with it. We'll need some time, as you rightly said, right? We need to do mistakes.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I learned in a shortcut way, and I have not really learned, by the way, to be honest. I moved away from the coding part way back. So I started trying to figure it out and learning, maintaining all this syntax and how do we do and all. But it's gone beyond my, less like everything beyond my.
Yeah.
So I had figured out there may be a cheat sheet kind of a thing, and that also didn't work out. Then all I did is that, okay, I'll prompt and then give me the script. And then I will tweak that script and then again push back the scripts. What you've done is go back and ask saying that, hey, here is a problem. Can you can you tell me how do you go and fix it?
Yeah.
So it's somewhat nowadays it's called as vibe coding or semi-vibe coding. I don't know what it is, but taken my things whole thing is easy actually.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Super.
you can write complicated SQL queries and big queries without knowing anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's possible.
Yeah, true.
ठीक है. Anything else before we close? All right, cool. In that case, then let's close it. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you do like it and if you're not part of the club, like please consider joining it. Have a good weekend, folks. Thank you.
Thanks, Bala.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bala, to